Don't see anybody to offer public comments. So move to finance, but we'll have to come back to the treasurer's report because she's not here, or we'll just review it quickly
Nope,
ourselves.
Mary's here.
Mary's here? Oh,
I don't know how long I'm here, but for the time being.
Well, you're just in time.
Yes. So I will quickly comment then that as mentioned in the trustee meeting last night, I was pleasantly surprised, and thanks to the residents of the village of North Bennington and property owners in the village of North Bennington, we experienced a better than average payment towards taxes. I have the lowest outstanding taxes in the 5 years that I've been doing this. And even since the due date for the month of November, there is a check a little over 10,000 of what was past due has already been paid, and that check will be deposited tomorrow. So that was unexpected and I think very good. Other than that, the line of credit was paid off. I always pay that off. That's done through an ACH. There is no checks that need to be written. And I always pay that off right after I reconcile the taxes and send the checks to the North Bennington Graded School District and the Mount Anthony Union District. So that has all been done.
Great. And that all mostly shows up on this treasurer's report for the 30th.
It will not show, well, the payment,
shows to the
up on
principal and the TAN doesn't show up.
Yeah. Let me look there here. Yeah, they actually will show up on the November report because I try to get that out within as close to November 20th as I can, which is, you know, right after due date. So
okay. Yeah. So
I will stay on as long as I can in case there's questions. I'm going to stop the video just in case that saves anything on, I don't know, on connecting.
Right,
but I'll be here as long as I can.
So it's this month that we pay the $300,000 December? The 300,000 plus interest. You already paid it.
It was actually done on November 30th.
Okay. All right. Great.
And it just saves a small amount of interest. It's not actually due until the end of December. Okay. But because taxes had come in so strong, I felt confident paying that off.
Well, that's a great compliment to the members of this district who are property taxpayers, and
indeed
to yourself. Hopefully it's a compliment to the management of the district overall, and we appreciate it.
Thanks, Mary.
I'm going to skip budget status report. We'll go to the consent agenda, which is warrants and minutes from November 12th meeting. Let's see here. So the warrants were in your packet, which is accessible through the line on the agenda. And so just to go through them, Kiernan, who was shorted on his stipend last month, got his stipend. Thank you for your patience, Kiernan.
Yeah, I didn't realize that anything had to be brought in.
Yeah, you needed a W-9, or right, to give them your information so they could pay it. Then we have one off-schedule warrant for $1,000, which was interest or a payment to the holder of the fiduciary holder of the bond from 2011. They get an annual payment of $1,000. That had to be made. I don't know exactly why that wasn't paid sooner, or is this the normal time for it, Mary? Is Mary still there?
It says she is, but
It says she is, but okay. I believe, I thought the $1,000 normally got paid in July. For some reason, it wasn't billed or whatever. At any rate, it's taken care of in that warrant. Then we have warrants for a warrant which is called
11/30/20.
yeah, I no longer know how to read these things. They've changed so much. Thank you, Matt. And that includes invoices from Southshire and Highland Hall for student quarterly student payments. The Highland Hall receives $16,275 for 7, I think, students, and Southshire, it gets $40,862 for what is that? I forget the number. 3, 6, 9, 11 students. Yes. And the village school received tuition, which has been recalculated since October. So last month we paid this amount, $166,586 in a rounded form for 109 students. Lori was paid for minutes for last month, $75. And then we had an invoice from Centerline Architects for some confirmation work on confirming that we didn't have any issues with doing our EMP paint work on the cornice on the south and west and the south and east sides of the building last summer, due to being, it didn't have any requirements to follow from the National Historic Trust people. So that's that warrant, and it totals $224,500.46. And then also it shows you the payment that Mary was talking about, which was the payment on our line of credit loan to help us cover our expenses till the taxes came in. $300,000 plus the interest on that, which is listed as $1,244.31. So $301,244.31. So that's the warrants. You will be receiving once we approve them, or after this meeting's over and notice of approval is given, Renee will send you a form to electronically sign. So that brings us to the point of requesting a motion and a second for both the warrants and the minutes for approval.
So moved.
All right, moved by Matt Patterson, seconded by Kieran McNamara. I doubt there's any further discussion, but I'll ask just to be precise. Don't hear any requests for the same, so I move the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Did I hear Kieran, or I can't see his
Aye.
hand, so aye. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So that's all of us in favor of approving the warrants and the minutes for last month. And we're to the superintendent's report here. And the superintendent is still with us, so.
I'm gonna try and bring my camera back. I'm at nighttime. I seem to have more connectivity problems. I don't know if there's more people using the
Probably more people zooming.
Yeah, so I just try to turn the camera off. I'm in receipt of Ray's email to us for questions. I appreciate that you understand that, receiving it today. I really can't intelligently comment on that, but I will tell you that Renee and I will go through that and involve whoever else and get the response and answers going from that. So, but I always do kind of appreciate the collectiveness of one of those because it helps us focus on what the questions. So no problem with getting that. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
My biggest challenge right now, as you know, we were remote last week and brought students back into the hybrid model this week. As we go into a second round of holiday season, that still is a concern. I'm going to wait and see what happens. Does the governor's order is it allowed to expire on the 15th of December, or does it get renewed? And then decide what may or may not happen after the holiday season.
Right.
I want to keep students in school as much as possible. That's where they all do better. And but I need to be assured that I have enough staff and that students are also not coming back, infecting everyone from whatever activities they did during the holidays. It's unprecedented time. I'm also mindful of the fact that, it's, everyone is saying January could be the surge upon the surge, and what will attendance look like? I do see some light at the a little ray of light at the end of that tunnel, that the vaccines are starting to be distributed, but that, from my understanding, that's going to be a really slow process before we see a vaccination rate that it can improve our operations and bring us closer to normal. But at last month's meeting, which I didn't attend, the assistant superintendent, I was ill, so the assistant superintendent covered for me. But I know that there was a question about food distribution and how could we improve it for North Bennington? And you may already know this, but I just wanted to report that there are 2 stops on the food distribution. One's at Lions Field around 10:47 in the morning. The other is the Old Stone Church at 11:09. It stays for 10 minutes at each stop.
Right.
And the principals of both the middle school and high school have been asked to share with their teachers reminders that they need to let students go out of a Zoom meeting to go get their meals. And the Abbey group, continues to do an outstanding job. And I know on the 23rd of December, which is our last day of operation, they will be distributing 7 breakfasts and 7 lunches that day for all students. And that's their capacity is 7. So even though the holiday is a longer period than that, it might be 11 days, but they're going to be able to do 7. So I commend them for even doing that.
Right.
They need to rest their workers too. They've been at this nonstop. And as Ray knows, we're in the beginning of our budget season. Renee's been hard at work meeting with principals, building budgets. We attempted to have an SU budget meeting earlier this evening before here. There seems to have been an issue with the warning of that meeting, so we decided not to go forward, and we'll try and reschedule it for early next week, because the SU budget really needs to be settled before we can move on to the district budgets or finalizing the district budgets. We are going to have an MAU budget meeting next Wednesday before their meeting. And probably a week from Monday will be the Union Elementary budget, their first meetings. But as you know, we need to have these done by the end of January at the latest, whatever the town meeting date, the 45 day thing, no less
Right.
than 30, no more than 45 days. So it's usually typically the end of
I
January.
think it's pretty early in
Yeah.
January this month,
Yeah.
this year. Maybe it's the 25th. But I don't remember. I knew it at one point. But
And no crystal ball with, what's going to happen with the ed fund. We saw the tax commissioner didn't send out a letter that was predicting a 9-cent increase to fund it. That's not going to happen. We know that that's the starting point. And then, but I can't imagine how it won't be tight. And then we have the added complication of in this budget season. So starting July 1, we'll have Arlington and Sandgate under the SU. So trying to merge those budgets at the same time with these uncertainties, putting a lot of stress on finance and operation budgets and on principals as we try to figure out how do we maintain our mission, but be responsible fiscally.
Yeah.
Happy to answer any questions you may have tonight. What anything else going on at the SVSU?
yeah,
Jim, I just want to thank you for taking care of or whoever took care of the meal distribution. We really appreciate that.
Agreed.
I walked past the stop at the Stone Church with my dog today. I had seen it previously, and so I knew it was up and running. And I thank you too. Thank you, Abby, for their work.
The Abby group, they're very responsive, and
Well, they seem to care a lot about their mission, so I appreciate that.
I think they do consider a mission, and they're dedicated to feeding as many of our students as possible, of all students.
And it's up to 18, or is it up to 21-year-old? I forget which. It's 18 on the sign, I think.
Yes.
18.
Yeah. Well, that's.
You're a little too old to get a
thank you.
lunch, right?
Sorry, what?
You're a little too old to get a lunch, but I could see what I could do.
I wasn't looking for one, but I was
Walking
thinking
by with
about.
your dog, I don't know.
I was thinking about special ed kids. They're eligible
Yes,
to 21, right?
correct.
All right.
Till their 21st birthday.
21st birthday, right? So, chair's report, there's not a whole lot to say here. The facility work is proceeding. I'm going to get the EMP work for next summer, which would be the west side of the building, the north side of the building, and a section, the oldest section of the south side that didn't get done last summer. I'm working with Ryan Garibaldi at Centerline Architects to come up with a spec to send out to our people that who are roofers who would be qualified to work on redo our rubber membrane roof. Hopefully that'll get done fairly soon, and I can send it out, and maybe by the time budget is set, we'll have responses and can make a decision about that. And the same with the paint work, because I'm likely to find that if I tap into the 5 contractors I tapped into last year, 3 of them will be committed beyond capacity, and maybe I'll be lucky to get 1 or 2 that'll provide me a price again. So that's that. Proceeds. Budget and other matters. Well, we don't really have a budget to work on yet. We've got the SU budget to guide us on what those numbers will be. And I will check with Highland Hall and Southshire about what they figure their student count will be next year. I have to look at what grades their students are in and see if they are going to be, anybody who's graduating out will be replaced. And then for students who are at SVUESD. I think there may be there may be a sixth grader there, or fifth graders in Molly Stark and Bennell. So we'll check on that. And I guess probably we will end up using the same numbers we have this year, which is the highest number we've had, 32 students overall in between SV, UESD, Highland Hall, and Southshire attending, other than the village school. The village school's at 109 currently. That may go up in February, so we may be paying for another student at that point. But what's on our equalized pupil, or the ADM for equalized pupil calculations, is 109. And so those numbers are not even available yet, the equalized pupil count. And I think one of the things I have to do, which I sort of realized I ought to check on last year, is figure out from Tim Newbold what the certification rate is for poverty. Because last year, that number was way below what it usually is for this school. And I don't think it was a true reflection of what the reality is in the school. And yet that's the way the number got set for poverty differential. And are we on, Jim, if you can tell me, are we actually using the study numbers now for poverty rates in terms of calculating equalized pupil counts? Or is that not going to go into effect until?
I don't want to, I can't answer that with clarity.
Yeah.
But I'll put that on the list of the other questions that you gave.
Well, I suspect we're not, because I think it was just a study and they didn't pass anything. That's what I recall. But so it won't affect us probably for FY22, but it'll be coming down the track, and that's reshifts the weights, because the poverty weighting is going, in that study, they said it should be at 3 point something instead of just a 0.25 boost. So that's going to skew rates quite a bit, and that's going to mean that the correction to get back to the actual number of students is going to be quite a bit different than it's been previously. And I mentioned it because I'm sure Renee knows where what the status is already, but we ought to be certain what platform we're operating on for next year. Our budget's really pretty simple in certain respects. The complicated parts are getting figures from the state about equalized pupil counts. And then the rest is for Southshire, we have to get the average of elementary tuitions to be used in plugging into our budget. Last year we had the wrong number, so we suffered a little budget line item for them is a little low. And then Highland Hall will have to tell us what their number is. They're usually well below that state average. They've stayed well below it for some time because their costs are, they believe in just billing basically their cost. And the village school will have to construct its budget and work with us on coming up with a figure for them in terms of number and the number of students and a rate. And at that point, Renee will give us the kind of we'll work on the assessment elements, which is part of what my memo that I sent out was about. And we'll figure out those numbers, and by January 25th or whatever, we will warn a budget. And hopefully it won't be breaking the bank. I don't know. So basically our meetings for budget are going to take place in January because there's no real information to be had, or it will be incomplete until then and still evolving at the time we start putting that together and manipulating as best we can to get the best results we can. And that's about the end of the process, I think. So I would think we could probably set up some meeting dates for budget work in January. I suspect we won't have a reason to do that before January, but we will have to be prepared to, and we're going to be doing this in virtual format, of course, which, I mean, it's theoretically possible. It's just this Zoom format, I can't, maybe someone in the tech department could tell me how to do this, but I can't get to files that I have without disconnecting from the meeting. Is there anything else you can do? Do you know that, Jim? That's just
There's lots
puzzle
of
to
ways
me.
that you can share your screen.
Share my screen.
You can share different screens so that everyone can see that.
Like I
Okay,
can,
yes, right. I could share.
You could
If
share different
I
things
make
that
you
you want.
co-host and then you can share your screen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I may need a little.
So that's something, Ray, and I've done this with others. We can
Yeah.
set up a little practice session and go through
Yeah,
it.
that might be good.
Okay.
Because otherwise I'm going to be floundering. I'm pretty sure of that. So, does anybody have a calendar for next year?
Yeah. Is January 6th too early? Otherwise, maybe the 13th.
January 6th would be,
It's a
our
Wednesday.
regular meeting would be the 13th, is that right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. And this, I don't have a 21 calendar here.
So
Okay,
the
yeah.
6th is a Wednesday and the 13th is a Wednesday.
Okay. All right, so is the 6th a possibility for having a budget meeting, which we may call off if we don't have enough information for those who are present now? Kim, Kiernan, Matt, Lori.
Looks
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, 13th is fine.
Okay, and would we want it at 6:30 or do we want it a different time? I'm fine with 6:30, but, and Matt, you're probably working that day, right?
Good.
Okay, so 6:30 the 13th?
It works.
Okay. Okay, and then the following week, what was that? Oh, that was the 6th, the 13th. Same time?
So
Um,
you want to do a budget meeting on the 6th at 6:30.
Yep.
Your regular meeting's the 13th
Yep,
at 6:30.
right.
Okay. And then,
I think we could just schedule it, and if we need to change it, we'll change it or drop one.
Or do a
Do
budget meeting prior to your meeting. If you're going to hold a regular meeting on the 13th, do a budget
Yep.
meeting prior to it.
Yep. I doubt we'd be done because I'm not sure what Renee is going to have for information, final information from the state. But at least we may have some numbers from the schools we send to, or I can come up with an estimate to use. I won't have a budget from SVUESD by then, will I?
I would say
Later.
not by the 6th, you won't know.
No, yeah, probably not. Yeah.
No.
Okay. But I may be able to get
Preliminary
the
numbers.
state average number from Jim Kosis.
Yeah.
And
So,
yep. So I may be able to construct some part of the numbers for students. And so I would say if we could commit ourselves to the 6th, the 13th, and the 20th, and then there would have, and on the 20th, by the 20th, we should be able to get the budget together, maybe with a last, a short meeting later on that week before the actual deadline to confirm, to adopt the warnings and so forth. And we could set that up at one of these meetings when we're more certain of it.
Could you just confirm, will all of those meetings be at 6:30?
We'll do them all at 6:30 unless there's
Okay.
a reason.
Okay.
So that's the 6th, the 13th, the 20th, with the possibility of a fourth short meeting to adopt the warning documents.
Because town meeting day is March 2nd.
Yeah,
So it's about as early as it can be.
about as early as it can be, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it could only be one more day, and that's unlikely because that only comes around once every 7 years. So. Okay,
so
All right,
my
so-
question is, Ray,
yes.
when would we need to have a budget put together? I know that petitions for elections and all that stuff is probably the 20th-ish.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's around the 22nd, isn't it?
yeah, I think so.
And is that not about the same time we have to actually,
We have to
Before-
warn the
Yep.
the meeting, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So-
I'm thinking no late, like, that Friday's the 19th of January. It's not going to be much beyond that.
Yep, okay.
so the state doesn't
So-
really give us a whole lot of latitude, right? They give us numbers, maybe if we're lucky by the 10th of, and we have to have a budget put forth for approval.
Yes.
9 days
It's going to
later.
be a
Yeah.
jam-packed month for budget.
It's going to be compressed
It's always
because of the end date there. Yeah. Okay, well, I should get that date settled. Maybe Lori will know it before I will, and she can.
Renee probably has it too. I mean, if it's-
Renee probably
town
knows.
meeting's March 2nd.
Yep.
It's no less than 30 days from there and no more than 25. So
Right.
So, just as long as we're talking about this sort of thing, I've been receiving a lot of information about how the meetings are going to be held, and there's some new protocol for that. It'll clearly be Zoom meeting
Yes.
for
Right.
our now. So, I mentioned this last night at the trustees meeting because this is concerning for me because I like to have my ducks in a row really earlier than I need to. So our budget vote's going to be very different as well because I'm still waiting to hear and I don't think that they're going to know for sure if we can hold our votes in our local office like we always do and what that's going to look like for North Bennington graded school districts voting. I've already asked people how soon they can get absentees. I don't know if we're going to get into more of that. I'm waiting for answers from lots of different people. I'm just not sure that people have a firm answer. So, so there's a lot of pieces to this that I don't know the answer to yet.
Right. So you're going to have to do absentee for our village, our school meeting vote.
Well, the Australian ballot for this things that you can vote for on the floor, but there are a lot of people who are very concerned about going to vote for our budget in person. So I don't know where that's even going to be yet. What I do know is that you have to go, you have to have a space that people
Yes.
can go to vote. That
Right.
cannot all be done absentee.
Right.
However, but a lot of people want to do it absentee. So that affects how the type of ballots that I order for
We've
the vote.
never done absentee ballots for this, have we?
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
for the budget,
The budget?
Yeah.
We
Oh,
have
yeah.
absentees?
Well,
Okay.
oh yeah, I had the
All right.
most I ever
So,
had.
so
last
basically you're just sending out the card that passes through the machine with whatever, packaging that goes with it for signature and so forth.
Correct,
Yep,
but
right.
it's more than that.
Yeah.
I did a
Yeah,
lot
there's
of them
postage,
last
and
year,
there's a lot of folding and
and there's
packaging and mailing and,
a lot of addressing. It's
Addressing.
incredibly expensive,
right.
and I
And
think
there's going to be a lot of people doing
and
it.
there's going to be a lot of people. So
Yep,
there's
okay.
deadlines, there's dates. The mail is awful. Trying to get things now, mailed during return. Oh, I'm sorry, Matt. I forgot you were there, Matthew.
No, I agree. I agree.
The window to warn, I was just informed, is January 21st through the 31st.
Okay.
The window to warn,
Okay.
which is
Okay, thank you, Jim.
earlier than what we
That's
used
great.
to. Yeah.
So
we can thank
the
Renee
20th,
for listening at home and texting her superintendent.
okay.
That's great.
So, we just established a meeting on the 20th, and that would be our adoption meeting, to adopt the warning language.
Maybe, if we have all the information.
Well, it has
we
to come
better.
21st, so
Yeah. And,
No, you're saying we can warn through the 31st
oh, okay. Okay.
of January. But
21st is the earliest you can warn, and the
Okay.
31st is the latest.
right.
I'm concerned, I think, I'm hearing Lori's point that, she has no idea. Well, there's two things. One is the Prudential Committee, Australian ballot is most definitely our own thing, and we decide where it's held. This is not a Cassie decides unilaterally without telling anybody that we're going to vote
No.
in Bennington, right?
Right.
So we're going to
Well-
vote at the
It
station.
can't be in Bennington. It has to
Okay.
be in the village.
So this is different than the Board of Civil Authority has said that we couldn't hold our last votes in the depot, but those were general votes. Those were
Yes.
not the North
Right.
Bennington. But I'm wondering, so for people like us who live in North Bennington, we would come to the depot to vote for our school budget and the Shasberry District 1.
Yes.
And if we wanted to vote for the other things, I'm guessing we have to go to Bennington to do that because the Board of Civil Authority wouldn't let, Michelle and.
Yes, for MAU, but MAU would that not? You're saying that the MAU budget, CDC budget, would end up being voted on at the firehouse downtown?
I don't know the answer.
You
to
don't know.
But
That's right.
that's my guess.
Yeah.
because-
And then what does that ballot look like? Because now
Well-
it's a separate ballot.
Right. It's two sides of a ballot.
So we always have, yeah.
And then
so
there's the town governance. Yes.
exactly. So there's a lot of yeah. So I'm not really clear on a lot of those things. That makes me nervous.
Well, you're in charge of it, Lori. So you
Thanks,
have
Greg.
to keep us Well, I mean, I know you are, but you're the person who deals with it. So you're going to have to tell us what it is.
She is in charge of the Prudential,
Yep.
votes. There are no village votes,
Right. That's later.
on that day.
Yep.
So I think Lori can unilaterally, just as others have, before, decide that there will be a vote at the train station with appropriate distancing and all that. And that, I guess the rest, I'm probably not going to drive over to Bennington to place a vote on the others. I think you would need to ask, whoever's in charge over there, whether that's Cassie or someone else within the school, whether they're going to allow, the other side of that ballot to include those, SU wide issues. And if not, then they're going to suffer.
The other side of our ballot has MAU and CDC on it. So what I'm talking on our ballot, the North Bennington graded school ballot, always has that anyway.
No, but it may not. It may not now if they decide that those votes can't be held elsewhere.
Well, then you're absolutely right, which is why I'm wondering. And I mean, this isn't the place to
I don't see.
wonder, I guess, but I would be inclined to ask for absentee ballots, because if there's something I want to vote for in Bennington, and I'll get them both. I can, if Matthew, you're going to be busy and you can't vote, you just request your absentees and you're going to get it all and send it back.
Okay.
Well,
So
I don't know.
I think that it's the MAU part of the ballot that the graded school district budget is on that we don't know about. And you're not in charge of that because Cassie's the clerk of the MAU.
That's right. So
Right.
I need to send her another email, or get in contact with her. And anyway, and I'll do that and I'll keep you all posted.
Okay.
As I'm going to with the village. I talked to them last night as well about their meeting. So.
Okay. So I don't see that we can go much further on that discussion. But we set up a 6th, the 13th, the 20th meeting at 6:30 in January of 2021 for our budget work. We may, the 20th meeting may end up being moved to the window of opportunity to warn area because we may be done.
Yep.
And we'll see about that as we process. But I thank Jim for getting, well, he got texted. Thank you for sharing that information with us, Jim, about the window. And
You're muted.
I don't know if there's much else we can do.
Credit is due. I told you who sent it to me.
Yeah, I didn't hear it though. So
Oh, Renee.
it was Renee sent it to you. Yeah,
Yep.
she's listening. So
She's listening.
thank Renee then for that information. Okay, so I think unless what was I thinking about for other? I totally have forgotten it. I didn't write it down. It must not have been very important.
It'll wait.
Yep. And I don't think there's any other. I mean, the other the other of number 7 we sort of been talking about, which is the votes and our number of questions to resolve there. And the FYI is SVSU student enrollments. This is I think a very useful report, the way it's being put together. And I really thank Jim and the tech department and Renee probably for putting that document out, because I think it's extremely, yep, it's extremely useful information. At least for me, because I see where kids are going and I can see how many students we have in pre-K and all that stuff, which is important. And it helps me keep tabs to make sure that all our students are actually represented, which one time it happened, they weren't. So I'm glad to know that, I'm glad to see it again. Thanks. So I think we can adjourn, gentlemen,
I would make
And
such a
ladies?
motion.
and we'll just adopt that at 7:19 p.m.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
All right, thank
Hey,
you.
everyone.